For a long time on my own self-development journey, I actually just sat and binge watched social media content about like self-improvement, productivity, motivation, discipline, all of these things, like the general self-improvement things that people talk about online. And what was very, very interesting here was that sometimes you actually just find a video that is very, very great. Like you feel like you've found a piece of gold that you can actually leverage towards your goals or towards something that you want to accomplish. And when you get that video, you get like a sudden dopamine hit, because these videos just give you dopamine hits after dopamine hits. And especially when you're like scrolling and you have motivational videos and then you find something that actually just points at you directly. You probably know what I'm talking about if you've been just like my younger self. And about 2 years ago, I was actually on YouTube. I was watching a very, very interesting video. It was about an experiment that you could try. And the person spoke about that you should think for your future self. And he explained that in a few ways. And he said that if you want to actually accomplish your goals and if you want to be able to move further in life, what you need to do is you need to actually think for the version of you that will exist in the future. And I actually didn't really think about it that much, because I just want like top 7 ways to become more productive or whatever, like number 1, number 2 and all of that, because I just wanted that dopamine hit of completing a video and actually not making any progress. Just about a year later, I remember it was January 2024, I was scrolling on TikTok. I was a bit in a rut at that time, so I was scrolling TikTok and I saw a video from a person who completely changed my perspective of all of self-development. He said something that I don't think I've ever heard anyone other say, like in that sense. And he said that the reason that I am waking up at 5 a.m. and the reason that I'm able to get up every single day at 5 a.m. is because I think about the version of me that will exist in a few hours, like at 11 a.m. or whatever the time was. Like, think about the version of you that will exist in a few hours and think about that person, how that would feel if you actually did do the thing or if you did not do the thing. Just think about that person and just try to shift your perspective and feel how that person would feel if they actually did do the thing and didn't. Because once you feel like, if I don't do this, this is how I'm going to feel. If you just acknowledge that and you realize that that is how I'm going to feel if I don't apply myself to the things that I'm going to, you're putting a bit of pressure on you, just a little bit, and you're pushing yourself to actually pursuing your goals. And that is such a great thing to be able to do, because right now you can start waking up earlier, you can literally take on anything because you start thinking for the future version of you. And this is simply the only piece of advice that I would give to anyone, because I don't really know who you are and what your morals are or whatever. I just know one thing. If I think for my future self, I know that my life will improve and I'm actually going to get the things that I have always wanted. Because for me, I'm not going to scroll TikTok when I think for the future version of me that will exist in a few hours or a few days, because my goal is not to scroll TikTok, right? And if you have a goal to scroll TikTok, then by all means you can do that. And if you just want to, whatever life you want to have, think about the person you want to become and the person you want to become to attract that lifestyle. And then ask yourself, what actions do I need to take in order for me to become that person? Once you start to think this way and once you start to implement this type of mindset, what will happen is you will actually grow a lot as an individual. Because when I first discovered this and when I first started to implement this into my own life, what I did was very, very remarkable. Instead of actually thinking to myself that I need to change this or I need to change that about myself, I thought of myself that, what person do I want to become? I asked myself that question. And what things do I actually need to take away and what things would I want to add to that? Because I can only add a few things and I can actually only remove a few things if I want to become that person. And once you start to ask yourself these questions, something very, very interesting happens. And that is that you start to gain a lot more control over your decisions and you start to make a lot more conscious decisions. Because, for example, when you start thinking for the future version of you that will exist, instead of actually just choosing the easy thing. For example, before this I actually scrolled TikTok every single day, I ate candy almost every single day, I drank soda almost every single day, and I knew that these things weren't that good for me. But when you think about the person that you are going to become in a few months or a few hours or in a few years, whatever it may be, when you think about that person, you actually start to get a lot more control over that, because you will realize that you will actually need to handle these consequences. And if you feel like you are prepared to actually handle whatever consequences, like whatever you want to do with your life, go ahead and do it, unless it doesn't hurt anybody else. And I understand that you know that. But anyway, if you start doing that, you will actually start to get a lot more control over your life, and all of your decisions all of a sudden become conscious, and you choose what you want to feel and what you want to experience. Because before this, I didn't really have a clear life direction. I didn't really know where I was heading. I was just drifting along. I was just choosing an instant stimulus, like for example video games, and I was just escaping from the reality that I had, which wasn't pretty bad. Which wasn't pretty bad, to be honest, but I just escaped a bit with video games. I was just doing something that I felt like doing or whatever. And now I'm actually a lot more purposeful, because my purpose is actually to change lives, and I actually want to help people around me. And that's why I've created this YouTube channel, because I thought to the future version of me, what person do I want to become? I want to be able to help people and make them experience a pretty similar transformation that I have been through. It doesn't have to be same like with habits and with rituals and with all of that, because you're a different person, and you know what works best for you simply. And if that is to meditate, then you're going to meditate. If you don't feel like meditation works for you, you won't meditate, and that is just simply it. And if you feel like you've been struggling a bit maybe with this, thinking for your future self, or you don't really know where to go in life, you can actually book a free call with a link in the description. I'll personally help you out, and I really hope that you got some value out of this video, and I'll see you in the next one.